I'm speaking today with Fred Pollack from Commonwealth Bank of Australia, where he's in charge of the Sales and Service Transformation Project. Hi Fred, thanks for speaking to us today.
It's a pleasure, great to be here.
So Commonwealth Bank of Australia has had this very long-term, ongoing core banking transformation project.
Yes.
I wonder if you could sort of tell me how it's been rolled out and how it applies to your retail banking operations in Australia.
Yes, certainly. I mean, we're into our third year now, so we've had two major rollouts so far. The first one affecting all of our customers with deposit accounts, and the second one, all of our transaction accounts. That's almost 10 million people have been affected. Both those were staged in across the country, so we did them state by state, and we obviously saw, what the issues were as we rolled them out. But now both of those transformations are successfully completed. We'll be moving into the next phase of it, which will be the mortgage products, and at that stage, we'll probably be about 2/3 of the way through it. An absolute massive undertaking for the organisation, because as you can understand, we had so many legacy systems, and to get all of them in alignment so that all of our customers now are just on one platform. From a customer's perspective, it's been just a huge benefit, because now they can see all of their transactions immediately, which previously it was a bit of smokes and screen built behind the scene. And for our branches, of course, it's massive as well, because they can see exactly what happens whenever a customer touches their account. So it's involved a lot of people. We've got a very large team working on it, but I think one of the critical success factors for us has been getting the engagement of our staff, and how we've involved the frontline staff in terms of the training and the understanding of what their role and responsibility has been, particularly the branch manager, having the branch managers directly involved in the training at their branches and getting their staff up to speed. That has been huge for us, because the enthusiasm and passion in driving through the changes and making sure that they happen seamlessly from a customer point of view. I think that's probably one of our key successes.
Right. Any lessons learned? I mean, obviously a lot of banks around the regions that haven't done this would be wanting to go through it. So any advice for banks that want to engage in this?
Yeah, I suppose I'm not a technical expert, but it is very, very large, and it requires the focus of the whole organisation. So right from the very top, and we're very fortunate with our CEO, Ralph Norris. He was in a previous role, he was the Chief Information Officer at ASB Bank, so right at the very top he had a very big understanding. We also did a lot of research, so many of our senior executives travelled overseas to Europe, to banks that were using similar systems, but probably not as big as what we've done. And also I think the continual communication all the way along about everyone's responsibility and role, particularly for the front line where they're using the processes. It's massive. We've I think done it well, but I suppose in hindsight, some of the things that there are some things from a technical point of view, with having so many legacy systems and so many things that have been put together 15, 20 years ago, you can't anticipate everything. So one of the things we've learnt is there will be things that come along which you simply can't anticipate.
Well, recently you had a sort of a problem with your ATMs.
Yes, we did.
So,
yes.
I mean, how does that play into what you're describing right now?
Yeah, it was interesting. The situation with ATMs wasn't so much what happened with core banking per se. It was actually I suppose a human error, and human errors happen from time to time. So it probably you couldn't describe it as a fault in the rollout of core banking. It was just something got missed that we probably should have seen, but the ongoing impact was huge, and I think because we're in the process of rolling out core banking and there's a lot of understanding that CBA is doing that, it got picked up as well. It must be part of core banking.
Okay. Obviously there's a lot of testing that needs to be taking place, but the human error certainly.
Yeah, well, like I say, I mean, we're literally rolling in hundreds of legacy systems, and that was, a production error that shouldn't have happened, but it happened.
For your online offering, you're also sort of developing something quite interesting. I think it's about account opening, where
Yes.
you don't need to enter the branch.
Yeah.
Open your first account with the branch visit, but
Yes.
subsequent accounts can be opened
Yes.
without visiting the branch. How
Yeah.
does that come about, and I guess where do you see that as offering you your real competitive advantage?
Well, I think in terms of online banking, you know, there's a certain segment that's their preferred channel, clearly. And what we've done there is obviously taken feedback on board that we've had from customers, and you know, now that we've got a system that is very interactive, and we've got ability for people to, you know, scan documents and identify themselves electronically, it's taken away the need for customers to come into branches. That was partly a policy decision and partly a decision around we need to make electronic banking safer for people to use, and also a decision around you know, what can people do to identify themselves electronically. We see that as probably the beginning of a better use of electronic banking, but from a customer perspective, you know, once they've been identified once, then we've got ways now that we can actually identify them for any type of account they want to open.
And has the regulator offered any sort of feedback on this as a process, or do you have to come to sort of new compliance levels?
I think as an organisation, I mean, Commonwealth Bank is always put a lot of focus on compliance and meeting any requirement. So what we've done, the regulator is very comfortable with it.
So they knew about what you intended to do.
Oh, absolutely.
And it fitted to all the regulations.
Yes, yeah, it absolutely meets all the regulations. I mean, I think in the last 2 years, in particular in Australia, like I suppose like the rest of the world, regulators have taken a very close look at banks. So you know, we work very closely with them on anything that we do.
But I think what you're talking about is a new online proposition that takes advantage of technologies that have been refined in recent years. Does the regulator come up with regular policy statements on new technologies, or is it a matter of if the regulator doesn't disallow it, then it's allowed?
No, I mean we wouldn't put in place anything that we thought we could have a problem in terms of regulators. So they don't have a particular policy that I'm aware of. But you know, in terms of would we test it and say, is this going to pass a test, or would there be a problem with any of the Australian regulators? We would look at that very closely before we put it into practice.
So you're saying that where there's a grey area,
I mean,
you talk directly to the regulator about your proposal?
Look, I think we do. We have regular meetings with all of them, so it's not my area of expertise, but we wouldn't put in place something and hope they didn't notice.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, you're also quite well known for your branch transformation, so
yes.
Can you tell me what's been happening in those projects and what's been sort of learned?
Well, I mean, this is a really exciting part of the whole sales and service transformation that we've done. First of all, there's a brand new design that we've put in place, and we've refined that with each iteration we've made things. So what we've tried to make is the banking chamber to be much more welcoming, you know, which obviously everyone would be familiar with, and we've tried to take away a lot of the routine transactions such as coin counting. We've invested a lot of money in technology so that people can just come and pour their coins in. It gives them a receipt, that type of thing. Cash counting technology, we've invested a lot in that, and we've also got online banking pods within branches so that people can sit down at a branch and do their online banking or net banking in a safe environment as well. We've introduced in our branches areas where people can sit and they can make themselves a coffee, or the staff can actually come up and make themselves a coffee. So that was relatively new in the environment as well. Probably one of the biggest things I'd call out, and it's been a bit of a learning journey for us, but it works very successfully now, is what we've done with concierges. Mm-hmm. So our large branches now, which we call Tier 1 and Tier 2, they have appointed concierges, so their role is not only to direct traffic, but also to make the customers feel welcome, see if they can deal with issues themselves, and in fact they become the face of the branches, and that's been very, very successful in terms of the feedback we get from customers about a tangible difference that they notice.
How many of these updates, I guess, are have a sort of a direct income generation component? I mean, are some of these fee related, or are they more about deepening the relationship?
The branch transformation is more about deepening the relationship and differentiating the way that we look and feel, and it fits with our byline that we want to be different. But I think whenever we refurbish a branch, one of the things that area managers and regional managers understand is there's an increase in targets. So the modernisation of a branch is very expensive, and when you do 200 of them, it's big money. But we expect, because of the traffic flow, because of the fact we've got more specialists in some of these branches, because we've got offices that they can use, we do put an increase in the financial targets on those branches.
I guess introducing new fees wouldn't be really the name of the game here, because fees is such a dirty word in Australia. Anything sort of to update on the battle between the consumers and the banks on fees?
Yeah.
Where do we stand here?
Well, I think the dynamics have changed significantly in the last 18 months. I mean, obviously we've had commentary from politicians. We've had an understanding that bank fees, I think, have got a certain shelf life. What we've tried to do is say, well, we've got fair value and great customer service, rather than going wholeheartedly at fees as one or two of our competitors has. But interestingly, what a lot of people don't understand is just how many customers who bank with CBA don't pay any fees at all. There's millions of customers who don't have any fees at all. But it does become more and more...
Because they fall into a no-fee zone, or because they only use...
The type of accounts that they have, like school children, pensioners, people on Centrelink payments, none of them have any fees at all. We have accounts for them at all. And there are customers who have high net worth and have a lot of banking with us. They don't pay little or any fees. So we see the competition as probably changing in the future, that banks will be less able to charge fees, and we see it the only way we can differentiate long term is on customer service, but then it's obviously turning that customer service into value for the shareholder as well, and you do that by deepening relationships. That's how we see it.
It's a dangerous game, because a sustainable bank does have a strong fee stream.
Yes,
but if you're not allowed by your regulators or your customers to charge fees, then you have to rely on your net interest income.
Yes, your net interest income, and also the depth of the relationship. We're in a position where we've got 10 million Australians who have a relationship with us. On average, they've got 2.64 products, but we know that those people on average have 7.5 products. So the issue for us is, well, how can we deepen the relationship and put them into products that we have which are suited to their needs?
Okay, cool. Well, thanks so much, Fred, for talking to us today. And
it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.